Hello everybody, my name is Lucas, aka the Frozen Controller, and today I've got something a little special to share. It's a deck I've kinda had in the works for over a year now. So a little bit of backstory in here. When I went to a Grand Prix last February, I played a deck that was basically a worse version of this. It's a blue-green deck that focused on getting a ton of mana to cast Enter the Infinite with a Lab Maniac and draw a bunch of cards and just win the game like that. And I mean, I went 2-7, not horrible, but not good, but considering what I was playing, better than expected. And altogether, the deck just performed better than I expected it to. So, I did more work on it. I spent time trying to make it a actual viable thing. And in its current state, it can beat Storm pretty well. Yeah, I've beaten Burn. We don't have any control players, actually. Able to beat Elves for a while, and still it's a little bit of a trade-off. It just depends on what I draw. So anyway, this is like a Temur mid-range deck, but what is very cool about this deck is, while it's not hugely optimized, it's very budget. So I would highly recommend this if you just want a fun deck to play. If you have like better lands or more copies of cards, want to adjust it, go for it. This is really just a kind of baseline of something I've been working on for a while. Alright, so getting the mana base out of the way, we've got 9 forests, 4 mountains, 4 islands, making 17 lands there. Got a Temple of Mystery, Thornwood Falls, Rugged Highlands. I play life lands because they're the dual lands I have the most access to. I think I have like a couple shock lands and a fetch land, but they're unfortunately not in these colors. Well, except for the fetch land, but it's just going to fetch a basic. So, not really a ton of point, since I actually want to hit a lot of land drops in this deck. And then Treetop Village. Now, yeah, that's only 21 lands. But, and they're like all basics. So how would I play a 3-color deck? Not these, those are just to pick up the slack on some land. But a playset of Abundant Growth. Very, very nice budget way to just fix your mana. 1 green, enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card. Land now taps for any color of mana. So basically, it takes a turn, but it replaces itself and gives you a thing that can tap for any color of mana. So basically, you have a City of Brass or a Mana Confluence with no downside. It's pretty decent. And the card draw is just huge. Let's go on to 1-drop aggro creatures. 2 Experiment 1, 2 Delver Secrets. Haven't actually tested the deck really with Delver Secrets, but I mean, come on, they're Delvers. I mean, they're Delvers. Moving into the 2-drop slot, 2 Sylvan Advocates, and 3 Scavenging Oozes. These are actually the 2 best budget options compared to Tarmogoyf. So, and having Scavenging Oozes gives you a great game 1 against Storm and Dredge, and means you don't even need to really run Graveyard Hate in your sideboard because you have 3 Skoozes main board. And believe it or not, I've had people try to call me by saying that Scavenging Ooze is exile target creature card. Nope. Target card. I know most people know that it's target card, but You never know. And then Sylvan Advocate, 2/3 Vigilance for 2. Gets bigger, pumps the Treetop Village. Just good value. Next up, we've got a 3-drop slot, which is 2 Tireless Trackers. Insane card. Yeah, just insane. And then a playset of Courser. With the Mana Dorks, you can usually drop one of these on turn 2. And that's just good value, because then you can start gaining life, which gives you an edge on burn. You can start drawing cards, which gives you an edge on decks like 8-Rack or Abzan, which like you to have no cards in hand. Allows you to keep pace with a control deck. And they can't... If you get this down before they get counters up, then they just... Then yeah, you can just beat them down with that. Easy. And now, on the far end, we've got our payoffs. Tendershoot Dryad, fairly recent addition to this deck, but it's just so good. Like, if you can get it out turn 3, get Ascend as soon as possible, so that all your saplings are 3/3s, but it still makes a 1/1 each upkeep. It provides you with so many chump blockers that really the only threats you have to worry about are threats with Trample. Speaking of threats with Trample, Primeval Titan. Works great with Courser and Tireless Tracker. Just grabs lands out of your deck. It's only a 1-of. I could probably upgrade that, but at the time I was getting Primeval Titan, it was still like $8 for a damage copy and $12 for a full-size one, or for a mid-condition one. Now they're down to like 4, so just because they've been reprinted in like everything. And then something a little on the jankier side, 2 Sagu Mauler. A lot of people remember this fondly as a draft and sealed staple of KTK block, but it's, in my opinion, it holds up pretty well in Modern. Trample, hexproof. If you can get it past counter spells, control deck cannot really deal with this. Well, minus a board wipe, but yeah, like most of the time, like last time I played against Jeskai Control, they didn't even run board wipes. They just focused on bolts and paths. They did not win. For Disruption, 1 Mana Leak. This used to be, at one point, this was 3 in the main board, with 1 in the side. We're down to just 1 in the main, none in the side. Because I felt it was slowing the deck down a bit. Which, obviously, if I feel like the meta starts running slower, I just add more Mana Leaks. This way, get a playset of Mana Leak. Moving on to the removal suite, we've got a playset, the Lightning Bolt. This is one of the primary things about having red in this deck is you have access to Lightning Bolt, which is just great. And Reality Shift, kind of janky, extremely janky, but a path, it's kind of like a Path to Exile, just gives them a 2/2, and if they're playing a deck that isn't super heavy on creatures, I don't know. Anyway, 2/2 on the ground can just be eaten up by most of the creatures in the deck, so not a huge worry. Win condition, get out a big creature, 4 Aspect to Hydra, 2 Temur Battle Rage. This allows for a turn 4 kill if you hit a Primeval Titan or Sagu Mauler on 3, and then have these in hand after. I've gotten that multiple times, and you hit them for like 20 on turn 4. It's kind of insane. This was 3 Temur Battle Rage, but I ended up taking 1 out. So that's the main board of this deck. So it's a pretty decently solid mid-range package that just yeah, it's a pretty solidly decent. It's a pretty decently solid mid-range package that just focuses on kind of flooding the board a bit, getting a presence, and then smashing in for like 20 damage at a time, ideally. And if the game starts to go wrong, that's where Tender Shoot Dryad comes in. Because that just floods the board with 3/3s. They can't deal with that. I mean, they can wipe the board, but still. So, moving to the sideboard. We've got 3 dedicated slots for artifact and enchantment destruction. 1 naturalize, 1 ancient grudge, 1 nature's claim. Things with a couple different numbers on them, just to kind of get around Chalice the Void, which should be banned. It is way too oppressive. 2 acidic slimes, good against Tron or 5-color decks. They're also good against decks with Chalice, because then you can just acidic slime their Chalice. And you usually don't see acidic slime on 5. Primal Command, good against Dredge. You can decent against Burn if you can get there. You can put someone's land on top of their library. You can also search up your Primeval Titan or Sagumul or Tender Shoot Dryad or Acidic Slime, something to get rid of, just something that will probably win you the game pretty quick. Electrolyze is good against token decks, good against elf decks. Just 3 mana, do some damage. Pretty good. 2 Vapor Snags. I'd say Vapor Snag's just a good card. Like, I know, against all in on 1 creature decks, like Kiln Fiend deck, if you can Vapor Snag, that's good. Token decks basically is just 1 damage to them and gets rid of one of their creatures. So just all in all, good value card. 1 Disdainful Stroke, good against Tron, good against control decks, good against anything with a big payoff. Yeah, Disdainful Stroke, solid in the sideboard. Fling, good against prison decks. They try to lock you out from attacking. You just pump up your guy and fling. If they have a ley line out, you're probably going to want to use Nature's Claim or Naturalize first. Or Primal Command, just to be super funny about it. 2 Life Goes On for burn and aggro matchups. It's a really good card. A lot of people, mostly newer players, get kind of choked when you block one of their goblin tokens or something and then play a Life Goes On, gain 8 life. You've probably seen this sitting there for a while, but Leyline of Life Force. Pretty recent addition. Haven't really gotten a chance to try it because there's no control players here. But this is just a way to deal with control decks. You probably want to take out your mana leak if you're putting this in, just because then you can't counter creature spells unless you're playing against a deck that doesn't run many creature spells, in which case by all means keep your mana leak in, disrupt them. Take out Reality Shift or something instead. And then this last slot is very meta dependent. Guy's Blessing. A little gem from the Time Shifted series and Time Spiral. Guy's Blessing really shines against Mill. If they don't have the Surgical in hand, then they just can't win. And then we had 3 Mill players in like 3 weeks. So yeah, that's why I threw a Guy's Blessing in the sideboard of this deck. That's been the deck tech for Temur and budget Temur Midrange. I think I'm going to leave a tapped out link in the description, just for ease sake. Next week I think I'm going to be talking about sideboarding. One more thing quick before I go. Masters 25 is looking amazing. Some pretty awesome cards being spoiled there. Kinda not happy about Chalice being reprinted, just because it makes it more accessible. But at the same time, card, no matter how toxic and unfriendly a card is, cards in the modern format being more accessible is a good thing. Eidolon becoming cheaper, Boros Charm becoming cheaper, or Core Firewalker being reprinted. Just three things that are amazing in Burn. Even Courser's back, so this deck gets even more budget. Because I think Courser was at like $3 or $4 when it was at like $5 when I got mine, and then it dropped to like 3 or 4, and then now it's going to be a little less. But hey, all is good. Lightning Bolt is being reprinted in Masters 25, which I'm sorry, that is just phenomenal news. Dark Ritual being reprinted, first time in a while. That's pretty cool. Good for Commander and Legacy players. Otherwise, there's really, I guess that's one of the other more notable reprints is Jace. Like, out of all the cards that they could have chosen to reprint, why did it have to be Jace? It sees some legacy play, and I've seen it occasionally in Commander. Like, that's where it gets played. And its price tag for that was fine. No one expects Legacy to be cheap, except for Manaless Dredge. And no one expects Commander to be cheap unless you want to play it cheap. Now, other reprints included Utopia Sprawl, Ancient Stirring, Street Wraith, Swords to Plowshares. Other than Swords to Plowshares, the three things I mentioned badly needed reprints. Utopia Sprawl was a little high in price. Ancient Stirring is also definitely at common. Come on. I mean, Street Wraith, it definitely needed a reprint. Hadn't been reprinted since, I think, the first Modern Masters. That's quite a while for a card that just, I mean, it only recently started seeing a ton of Modern play, but you can play it in Infect, you can play it in Control if you're kinda desperate. You can play it in Death Shadow, which is where you're supposed to play it. You can play it in Delve decks. It's just a good card. Living End. Speaking of Living End, they reprinted Living Death, which was the original Living End. I would say that I doubt they're going to reprint Living End, but at the same time, they might have already done that, I don't know. But they reprinted Ancestral Visions, they reprinted Wheel of Fate. They haven't reprinted Hypergenesis, but they don't really have a reason to reprint Hypergenesis. I don't think it's, like, pricey. And Restore Balance. Again, Restore Balance is a budget deck, so don't really need to lower the price on a budget deck. But Living End, I don't know. It's something to think about. Could probably use a reprint. But Living Death, great in Commander. If you make a deck that's like Child of Alara cycling, just win the game with Living End and Living Death. Make sure you have a Leyline of the Void though. That's about a $30 edition. That's not fun. Yeah, reprint Leyline. Anyway, that's about everything I wanted to talk about in this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.